As a leader, most important for us, right? Understanding that myself. What's our biggest bottlenecks or opportunities, right? Asking myself that question every week. So my responsibility is to design and be the founder of future Jotform. Our culture, our products, our service, our quality, all those things. How can I be the founder of future Jotform?
Welcome to the Learn It All podcast, where lifelong learning takes center stage, and this is the show for leaders who have an insatiable appetite for growth and the courage to step out of their comfort zone and help redefine what leadership needs to look like for generations to come. I'm your host, Damon Lembi, 3-time best-selling author and CEO of Learn It, a live learning platform that has helped upskill over 2 million individuals. I've got a fantastic guest today. In a moment, I'm going to be joined by Aytekin Tank. He is the founder and CEO of Jotform, a no-code form builder that's trusted by over 30 million users worldwide. He's also the author of Automate Your Busy Work, and he's the host of the AI Agents podcast. I'm looking forward to discussing with him why his company's biggest breakthrough actually came after he split his team up into 5-person mini startups. How founders need to shift from CEO to founder of the future. We're also going to get into his simple weekly ritual that helps keep 700 employees aligned and moving in the same line together, and how AI agents are already changing what it means to build and lead a team. So Aytekin, you've built Jotform to over 30 million users, and you did this without raising a single dollar. And in a world that's obsessed with speed and taking other people's money, what led you down the path of bootstrapping and doing this all on your own?
I think it wasn't a choice at that time. Like I was kind of, I actually didn't know any investors, or I didn't even know like how to take investment. But I knew that like I had to do my own product. I had to do my own startup. So like I first started as I studied computer science, and then I worked for a media company in New York for 5 years. And basically, but I was so excited about building my own products one day. And that actually led me to start my own startup. And I didn't even think like I had any other options, like just forge ahead. And one of the reasons was like before I started Jotform, I was actually also doing some products on the side. Even when I was a student, I would actually like create these open source products, and I saw people were using them, and I was really excited about seeing people using products. So I wanted to do that full time, but I had no confidence. So I started looking for a job after the college, and I found a dream job where I could actually, improve myself and get better and learn the business, right? And I think it's important to learn the business because over time, when I actually started hiring people, those experiences working with other people on an established company really helped me really structure the way I worked. But I had that passion to build my own products, like just and I was doing that because I was working full time, and in the morning I would actually wake up early and I would answer, people who are using my product, and some of them were actually paying me. So I would answer them. I would go to my full-time job, work 8 hours, come back to home, and then just answer a couple of more hours, maybe just improve something in my products and answer those questions from users. So just I was so excited about doing that, but I didn't know what to do. So one of the tasks that I had during while working for that media company was like we had like over 100 websites, and our editors were constantly asking me to build forms, and I hated building forms because it's just like very boring job, like just HTML forms and then connecting them with emails or something database, just very simple stuff. Like I wanted to work on more challenging stuff, but just boring stuff. And I looked for a product that could automate that for me. But when I couldn't find anything, I decided, okay, maybe this is the product that I can build. This could actually be big because like there's a big need within the company. If there is a product like this, we would use it. There was SurveyMonkey, but it was only for like creating surveys. So there wasn't any other like really good products. So I knew that there was a need for this, and that's how I took the approach and just forge ahead with my own startup. And like it was like 2005, I quit my job. And I remember like I was like in the, downstairs, and I was going upstairs, and my, legs were actually shaking when I was going to my manager to tell like, I'm quitting. And just, I went there, and then my manager was really nice. Like he was like asking about like, what am I going to do? And I told him about, this product idea that I'm going to work on. And he was really excited about that. And I learned so much from that, because after that, like every time someone came to me in my own company, like during these 19 years as Jotform grew, like when someone actually came to me, like saying like they are actually leaving, and I was like, I wasn't like, even if I felt like really bad because like they were good and we were losing, like I didn't, I didn't like, just I
You were
tried
upset with them.
like just try to talk about, and many times like those people actually came back, and it just that happened so many times, like because I was so nice to them, they were actually okay to just ask me back, like hey,
Grass isn't always greener.
yeah, I was sometimes saying, I started saying things like, hey, whenever you want to come back, just, come back and sit at your, at your chair, and, you continue working. So basically, that was a great experience. But I quit my job, and then the next day I started working on Jotform. But for the next 1 year, I was actually working alone, like just by myself. And that's
so I got a question. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So first of all, I'm a Bootstrap founder myself. Been at this for 30 years, 2 million users, and not 30 million. And I love what you said about because that was hard for me at first when somebody would quit. Right? They would quit and they go away. But then I've learned over time, and I think this is important for our leaders out there. What I've learned over time is sometimes they find out for themselves that the grass isn't always greener. They want to come back, and they become some of the most loyal and best employees of all time. So don't burn any bridges.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to ask you was going back to your computer science days, when you had all these different ideas of other things to do, were there any other ideas that you said, you looking back on it, you're like, man, I wish I would have went that route as well?
Actually, like one of the products I built was called Profile Manager, and this is like, I don't know, 5 years before Facebook, like 1999. I'm like the senior at in college, and like just it was about like I actually built it for our student organization. And then I released it open source, and a lot of people started using it. They started sending me checks to like make improvements and make some customizations for them. But like I wasn't thinking like as a social media, it was kind of very similar to Facebook. 5 years before Facebook came out, I built this product very similar to Facebook. You had these profiles, people could actually talk to each other. They had like just similar. But I never had that idea that like just make. I was always thinking like people will just put this on their website. I wasn't thinking like the way Facebook. So I didn't have that business model. So one of the things I was actually doing was like, even though I was good in terms of technical parts, like I was good at coding, I wasn't good at business. So one of the things that I was doing while I was actually working full time for 5 years after college was I was constantly reading. I was reading all the blogs and books I could find, and I was learning about like business models, marketing, all those things. And because I didn't have those kind of ideas, like I actually like all the other products I built before Jotform, they didn't have good business models. I would just like lose money. Like they wouldn't be worth the effort I put in them. Like just so it takes a while to kind of learn those kind of things. Yeah.
So take us back to, I know you started on it, but what was that first year like of you went and talked to your manager, you were nervous, but you got out of your comfort zone and did it, and you were just by yourself, right, for the first year?
Yeah. So I would just I was living in Brooklyn, and I would just wake up and go to a coffee shop, and then start working some sort of like work on the code, and then work for a couple of hours, and I would walk to Brooklyn Bridge to Manhattan, and just it was just dream, like just having that kind of freedom to work wherever I want and just whatever I want was great. But it after a while, like it wasn't that great. After some point, like I just preferred, especially like after 1 year, especially when I started hiring people, I preferred like working in the office. Having that structure was actually better. Like just in the beginning, it feels great to have that kind of freedom and just have that kind of work environment. But after a while, you get bored and you start like missing things like, what if I could have like this huge monitor that I could use, air condition or something like that, like just maybe too much coffee from going all these coffee shops, things like that. So yeah, I mean that wasn't something permanent, like that was, but it was fun in the beginning.
How
But
many users did you have after year one?
So I started working on Jotform, and then like 6 months later, I released the Jotform to the world. It was like February 2006. I released the first version, and people were actually using that little by little. Like just it wasn't like many, like a few people were signing up, but I kept working on it, and so. After 1 year, I think the number was like around probably like 5,000. It wasn't
Did you
that
think to
much.
yourself though, but 5,000, did you ever, I mean, I still remember back in my days when people first started buying passes and classes and, I'd walk downstairs and there would be 200 people taking, I'm like, I can't believe that so many people would buy something from a guy like me who I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, what did it feel like when you hit your first, let's just say 20,000 users?
It just felt great. And so one of the things I was doing was like I was actually providing support to my users, and I just made
Yourself?
it all free in the beginning. Like it was all free during the first after the release. Like for a year, I made it all free, and I also I was actually providing support on a public forum, right? And one of the great things about that was like people were actually seeing, like, they were asking questions and they would get their answer quickly, and people would see each other's answers. They would join the discussion. They would request features. And then sometimes my answer was like, it's done. Yeah, start using it, right? I just added that feature or I fixed that bug. So that allowed me to kind of give people, build trust with those initial users, because they saw that how much effort I was putting and how like the answers I was providing them to them. So for the first year it was all free, and then I started having these the premium version, the subscription model, like monthly subscription model started after that. And but my goal was that like I wanted to get as many people as possible to use the product so that I can get their feedback and improve the product. And really, like when I look at that first version I released, it wasn't really very useful. It was missing like many of the important features. And once I actually fixed those things, it became a much more useful product, and I could ask for money. I remember like the year after I released Jotform, I released the paid version, and then at that point, I think we had about like 15,000 users, and just send an email. And as soon as I send that email, like I send it early in the morning, someone from Spain, actually, like a university, someone working for a university in Spain, just bought the first subscription, and then like someone from the US, I believe, and just like a few people, and I was able to get like 500 subscribers in within a few months after that. So that proved to me that this is going to be a successful product, even though like I wasn't earning much. I knew that if I could keep people, if I have like low churn rate, if I have a great product, eventually this would snowball into a big company. I had that confidence. For some reason, I really believed that would be possible, and it turned out to be true after many long years.
So, I mean, now you have over 700 employees. You have 30 million users. Obviously, you can't be up responding on the troubleshooting and the help desk line. Talk to me a little bit about your journey into becoming a leader, what it was like leading a team, but also being able to stay close enough to the product where you can keep evolving and growing in such a large scale organization.
So a few years ago, I actually like kind of discovered that I was this really I felt like an admin, I was just doing like so many things as a CEO. I was just like dealing with so many things. I was designing office space, like just working with an architect, but still, I was having a meeting about office space. And after that, I was talking about growth and I was talking about HR. And I actually didn't like that much because I was working a lot, but I didn't feel like I was really contributing to the company as much as I could. And my passion is about product, and I really enjoy working on the product, even though I don't have to write code, but working with the teams that are actually building the product. So I decided that I would just leave all that stuff to my COO, Chief Operating Officer, and then I would just focus on single. In the beginning, I was just focused on 5 different things every day of the week. I would just focus on one thing, but then I actually reduced it to a single thing, single project, and that was a single product, and that actually made it much better way. For me, it made it much more fun, but also I feel like I made a bigger contribution. So one of the things I do is every week we have these demo days where teams actually show their what they're working on to each other over Zoom, and I would actually every week I go and make a speech, and just I had that opportunity to kind of lead the team about something I believed in, and that kind of having that focus on a single thing, especially if you pick that thing right, could make a big difference. Because when you're working on things okay, it's important to do HR, right? It's important to do office space or whatever, but those things can actually be handled by people who are really good at that, our head of HR and our CEO could focus on those things. But one of the things that made me different is I know the history of Jotform, and I know what made us successful. I understand what our users are looking for and what kind of what kind of things that make our product successful. So I decided if I could work on those things, that I could make a bigger contribution. And I also had those daily, weekly speeches were actually kind of opportunity for me to take the time to think about what we are doing, and just every week just look at what we are doing, and maybe I would I spend 2 to 3 hours for every speech. It's only 10 minutes or 15 minutes speech, but I spend that time because during this time I'm not just preparing for the speech. I'm actually preparing for be as a leader. What's most important for us, right? Understanding that myself, and really it's about what's our biggest bottlenecks or opportunities, right? Asking myself that question every week. What's the biggest bottleneck we have right now, or what's the biggest opportunity we have right now, and how can I what should we do about that? And when I think about that, when I actually prepare a speech, I'm also thinking about what's important for our company, and then I'm communicating that. And that speech, like going in front of hundreds of employees, is it's kind of like, at this point I'm more used to it. Like in the beginning, it was actually very nerving. Like it was like I would get anxious about it, but now I'm more used to it, like much more comfortable right now. But that excitement, that adrenaline is actually good, because that makes you actually take the time to prepare a good speech and good strategy, and that actually made a big difference. And also, makes it easier for people to understand, like, what's our goal, what's our mission, what we are trying to achieve. And it's not just done like once a year. Like I don't go once a year and say, here's our mission, here is the statement we made. Every week they can actually hear the stories I tell, the problems we experience, and the successes we are seeing in our business. And then sharing those stories, they can actually see what I care about, and people also start caring about that thing, because they can now understand why I'm making such decisions. And one of the feedbacks I get from our employees is that they are so happy that I'm actually sharing those behind the scenes, like why we are making a decision about something. And when I'm talking about the decision and why we are making it, I'm saying things like, here is the 3 reasons why we are going this way. And listening to those 3 reasons is actually very important for our employees, because that actually makes them understand the goals and the mission and the journey, and then they contribute more, really be part of that journey. And I try to just try to be as honest, I'm not just talking about like the good things. I'm also talking about the bad things as well. Try to be honest and just provide them, all the things, so that they have the clarity to understand what's going on, and they can actually contribute us reaching success.
I mean, I think it's so very important for all our leaders out there. And I want you to think about, how are you communicating out with your team? Because sometimes you just get stuck in your own world and you think that everybody can just understand what you're talking about, but that's really not true. You got to communicate it. And I found you got to communicate it through different channels, whether it's through written writing, through speeches like you talked about, through a Slack channel. That's all fantastic, and try to be as transparent as possible. And people really appreciate that, and helps them get the clarity towards their mission. Now, but scaling from 0 to 700 employees is not easy. So what have been some of the biggest pain points or challenges from a talent development perspective or leadership perspective in that scaling to 700 employees?
Yeah. So I actually had like a big wall, big like roadblock. So that was around 2014. And so I hired my first employee in 2006, a year after I started, writing the first code of Jotform. So that means first 8 years. And we were still small. We had about 15 employees at that point. Like after 8 years, so we had such a slow growth in the early days. I remember the first year I hired my first employee, second year, second employee. For the first 5 years, we would just hire 1 employee per year, such a slow growth. And but I hit a wall because we were around 15 employees. But we weren't doing as good job as we did when we had 5 or 6 employees. When we had 5 employees, we had this small office space, and we would just sit in that office space and constantly, and we were all talking about a single project, because we didn't have many people. We would just work on something like new version of Jotform or something. And then we would just constantly talk about, we had this whiteboard and we would write to it and discuss topics go in front of the whiteboard when we need to discuss something and draw stuff and then just get excited about stuff. We would go to lunch together, have those discussions. We were constantly talking about Jotform and new version of Jotform, and we were so excited about that. And just such a friendly environment. Like just it was like a family. It was so much fun. I would even take them to vacations together. Like just we would go together and just work, but at the same time hike or something. So but when we were like 15 employees, like what happened was like I assumed that, and this is what I saw in my previous company, because it was everyone was working on silos. Like we had the designer department, we had the developers, we had like editors, we had like writers. Everyone would sit with their own like function, and then they would work together. And I assumed that big businesses work that way, and I assumed that we were supposed to work that way as well. And I would give each person a project, and they would work on it. But I think the biggest problem was we weren't talking about things, because whenever we were like getting together and talking, we weren't talking about what we were doing, because everybody was doing something else and they didn't know what others were doing. Like we would just talk about weather or something, right? So we didn't have the same environment. So at that time, I also like, this is before Lean Startup book came out. I was like reading a lot of the Eric Rice blog a lot, and I would learn about these cross-functional teams and lean working strategies, and I was really like thinking about that, and then suddenly like I thought, okay, when we were like 6 employees, when we were like 5 people, we were so much better because we had this like cross-functional small team that was working on a single project in a single room. But right now, like everyone is working on different things, and this is not scaling, and we are not doing, everyone is doing something as much as they can, but because there's no discussion, because there's no real teamwork, everyone is just doing whatever they can. And I decided, okay, we are going to switch. We are going to completely transform the company. And instead of 15 people all working on different things, we are going to divide these 15 people into 3 teams, and 3 teams of 5 people. And right at that moment, we were actually moving to a new office space. So I worked with the architect, and then we designed these like small rooms, exactly like the room we had when we were 5 people, like that small room, and like glass rooms, and that could hold maximum 6 people, and it had like whiteboards, So I tried to create that environment we had previously, and we were working on a single project. So that team actually like we just gave that team, okay, this is your project, and like it was much bigger project, but you own this. Right, you own this, and go and do whatever you can. Like you work like a startup, do and make your own decisions, and then move forward. And I will just do a short review meeting every week, and that's how like we started working. And today we work that way as well. And as soon as we make that change, and when we look at the growth of Jotform, we can actually see a year after that, we are actually like performing so much better. Like just we are releasing new products, new versions of our product, new features, and our usage is skyrocketing. Our product quality is improving, and today, like when we actually try to do something, we don't give it to a single person. We will usually either give it to an existing team as a project so that they can actually work on that, or like we just build a team that's like just focused on that. For example, let's say, Jotform has like, forms, and when people create forms, they use form templates. So we have a team that's actually responsible for form templates, and they are creating form templates. Before, like they would actually create form templates manually. They would actually look at what people were doing, like what's most popular, and like decide like what kind of templates to create. See what people are searching on the template gallery. But today they change how they work. They are now using AI to create templates, but they are deciding what kind of templates to create. Like they are building the tools for AI to create those templates as well. So the way they work changed, but they are their focus, their mission hasn't changed to create great templates for our users. So we giving that much responsibility and ownership, and giving an environment, an office space that actually makes that ownership, that cross-functional teamwork possible, made them so much more productive. And I would consider that definitely the single biggest reason for the success of Jotform, and that's the teamwork. That's our whole company is a team of teams. We have so many teams and just so many small teams, and we design our office space so that we cannot make bigger teams. Like, we cannot hold more people in these rooms.
So you basically, what I hear you say, you created your own constraints.
Yeah,
is what you did, right? So you created your own constraints, so you can only fit 5 or 6 people in a room, kind of like Jeff Bezos says about the 6-person pizza team. And what I hear you saying, which is awesome, is that when you, and this is important for founders out there and leaders who feel like they have to get all the work done, but when you empowered your team and you gave them an opportunity to do the work and think about things and take ownership, it's like they had their own little businesses, and you created an environment where people felt safe enough to make mistakes. And they were showing up at a place where, like I said, they had ownership and purpose instead of just a paycheck player. Now, which is fantastic. I want to pivot a little bit to where you're spending your time at now, and also what the difference is, as a founder. But what's the difference between a founder, where a founder should spend their time, and maybe, let's say, a CEO?
Yeah. So let me start with the second question, and that also answers the first question. I feel like in the early days, I thought that as a founder and CEO, like, I had to deal with everything, but over time I discovered that being a founder is not just a title about the past. Like, hey, I'm the founder and CEO of Jotform. I was the founder and now I am the CEO. That, I don't think that's how you should read it. I think being a founder could also mean something about the future. It could mean like founding the future of Jotform, right? So my responsibility is to design and be the founder of future Jotform, and future products, future culture in the future, and just our culture, our products, our service, our quality, all those things. How can I be the founder of future Jotform? That's how I see it now. And when I see it that way, that I know that I cannot be a founder if I'm just like busy with everything. Because when you're a founder busy with everything, there's no way that you're going to be able to accomplish something, because founder job is really hard. Founder job means like you just have to come up with a new product, new service, new business. And it's really hard, because if it was easy, everyone could do it and everyone would be successful. To reach success, like, you have to do something really hard. And to accomplish that, you cannot accomplish that if you also have a full-time job, which is like a admin job, like just dealing with everything else. You can only accomplish that if you're engaged with with the business of founding your company full-time, and just focused on that, and just put on all your brain and all your ideas into that, and just trying different things to be successful. And so that's why I decided, okay, I'm just going to focus on a single thing. And last couple of years, I turned my focus into AI, and the reason was, when I'm deciding like what to work on, I'm asking myself like 2 questions. What's the biggest opportunity for us, and what's the biggest bottleneck for us, right? What's the biggest bottleneck preventing our growth, our success, and what's the biggest opportunity we have today? And when I look at that, I saw that those 2 things were the same. Because like we are building this, we have this SaaS product, Forms product, and now we have this big revolution going on with the AI. It's changing everything. So maybe, a few years later, people will stop using Forms, and people will just use AI, and AI will probably fill out forms, pass the information. Maybe everyone will have their own AIs, and the AIs will be talking to each other. So there will be no need for forms. So, and if we continue to like just at our path, at that point, like we would be like, we would kind of not have
You'll
any
be
features,
obsolete.
right? Yeah, we'll be obsolete. Yeah. And so that was the biggest potential, trouble for us for the future. But also, biggest opportunity for us was like we have this great product culture. We have these experienced people, and most of our team is experienced with product. But we also had some AI because they were mostly working on things like internal AI work, like things like preventing spammers, phishers, things like that. So we had some experience in house, and we really know how to create good products. So if we actually started building AI products, we could actually do great things as well. And that's how I made that decision to, okay, what can we build with AI? And the first idea, and one of the things we do at Jotform is like we have these hack weeks. And during the hack weeks, teams actually, for a week, they will actually try to come up with new product ideas, execute those ideas, create prototypes. And some of the things during our hack weeks, they would actually create these AI for forms. So you could actually, fill out forms on the phone, right? Just the other person would actually, the AI would interview you, and then you would answer those questions and fill out the form that way. So we decided to work from that, decided to build that, started small with a single team, and gradually we added more teams. But something else happened. Like after a while, when we actually look at the beta users, alpha users who were using these our products, we discovered that like many of them weren't actually using for forms. They were actually using to answer their customers. They were using it as a AI customer service product. And it was almost like, I think it was like 90% of the users were actually using it that way. And only 10% of the users were using it the way we envisioned. So we decided, okay, if people want a customer service AI product, let's build that.
Hold on for 1 second, though, because this is really, really important. And I've experienced this myself, too. But a lot of times you build these products in a bubble and you think that people are using it the way you anticipated it to be used. And you could go down a way down wrong path on that. So how were you able to, I guess, get these customers involved early enough so you were able to pivot and go that direction and find out that information early enough on?
Yeah. Whenever we decide to build a new product or a new feature, what we do is like we tell the team, okay, you have a month. You need to release an MVP, and you need to release that to real people. And we need to see that people are really using that product. Because if no one is using it, if it's not interesting, we need to either pivot that or cancel that or just work on something else. So you just have a month. Sometimes, they will say, oh, this is hard. Like we need more time. Okay, we'll say, okay, 3 months at most. So that's what we did. Like when we quickly created that product that could fill out the forms by using a chat interface. And then we released that to like a small number of Jotform users. And we would release it within the product, and we would just show like a banner or something. Hey, do you want to fill out, use our AI agents to get users to fill out forms, things like that. And then some people would start using that way. So because we have such a big user base, we could just open an MVP to a very 1% of our users, and we could get people who are using the product. And in the beginning, it's just the product is terrible. It's full of bugs. It's broken, but only a few people sees it, and we fix that, and then we improve it, and we increase the number of people who use the new product, and we get their feedback. We put these feedback forms as well. Our business is forms, so we put these feedback forms as well within those beta versions, and get so much feedback and learn from users. And then the team actually sometimes we will actually do this for years before we release the product to everyone. We will just work on. I remember Jotform tables. It's like a spreadsheet product for our users. It's like very similar to Airtable. I think it was in beta for like 3 years before we released to every user.
And I just want to point out though, because I have a lot of friends who founded their own companies who have VC backed money, and when you're in a situation like that, you don't have that opportunity to wait for years to be able to do it. So that was a big advantage you have right there, is that you can take your time and figure out growth instead of having to hit numbers right off the bat.
Yeah, but I also did something similar with with the product, with the AI agents, we wanted to make a small version. So we created this product called Noob and just started from scratch. We didn't release it to Jotform users. And in that case, what we did was we actually run Google Ads to bring traffic to it. And so learn from that. So if you're a startup and if you don't have that user base to like just promote your product and get them to use it, I think the best approach would be to like paid advertising. And I also mentor many startups, and some of them actually don't have the funds to do like ad campaigns like we could do. They can only run ads for a few $100. But in those cases, what I recommend is like they will just run those ads in like in some countries it's very 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 cheap to run these ads. So if you just maybe India or some other country that's not very expensive to advertise, if you could just go there, you can actually get lots of, and because your goal is to prove the product, do people use it, do what kind of problems they have, and do we have a growth chart? Like, are we seeing like people do people who try the product come back to it again and again and again, keep using the product? And to prove that, you don't have to have users from the US. You could have people from India. You could have start with those users to prove your product and spend very small amount of money to learn from the users, and then that will actually give you. But the worst thing you can do is just not like work on a product for years without actually getting a lot of people to use it. And I know that a lot of enterprise products actually have that problem, and that's a very difficult problem to have. And my recommendation would be, even if you're an enterprise product, maybe create some other domain or something, use advertising, provide it as a free product, and just to improve your product, just to and you could always grandfather those users, and you're not going to lose much because, right? Otherwise, like you cannot prove your product, you cannot improve your product without users.
You can't build it in a bubble. I mean, one of the things that we've started doing at Learn It, when we're coming out with new products or courses, is we've found different, whether it's CHRO forums or whatever, where you could pay a couple $100 and you can get feedback from your ICP to see, hey, yeah, this is something that's important, or this is something that doesn't make any sense. But you don't want to, just spend all the time and then put it out there to find out it's the wrong thing. I want to pivot a little bit because for my own selfish, like I was telling you backstage, I love AI and I want to adopt AI. And as a small bootstrap business, I think AI can help democratize a lot of the things that you couldn't previously do in the past. But just from a layman terms, explain what AI agents are and what you're building, and maybe one or two use cases for Jotform.
So there's like, I think today we have like two kinds of AI. One is like the generative AI, and another one is the AI agents. So generative AI is like, go to ChatGPT, you ask questions, you get answers, right? They're kind of like an assistant. They provide answers. You can do more. Maybe you can do like, deep research, get, better reports, and you can ask it to analyze things like that. But it's usually like you are going to the AI and asking questions and getting answers. But this model actually doesn't work if you are like a business or organization who needs to provide services to your users, right? To your customers. This doesn't work because they need to come and they need to find, like, they need to decide what to ask. What you need to provide is kind of like a service to your users, to your customers. And how do you provide a service to your customers? You have to kind of your service needs to be much more. You need to like think about everything that needs to be done, right? For example, if you are providing customer service,
let's say we're putting on
yeah,
like a festival or an airline.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, right? If you're running a festival, right, and you have people are coming to your website, they have questions or they are calling you, they have so many questions. And if you're running an event, one of the biggest problems with events is like most of the time, like you don't need to do any customer service. Like only a few people are calling you, and then 1 day or 2 days of the year, like you have this skyrocket and so many questions. How do you scale? How do you answer those questions? And AI is great for scaling that. So the AI agents are actually kind of they can actually represent you. They can work on your behalf. They can make decisions. You can teach them, and then they could be your representative. And that's how I see it. And in this case, like if you're running an event, if you're an airline, which is actually very common use cases at Jotform AI agents, is that you can actually teach that AI agent how to answer questions, how to use tools. Like if you're an airline, how to check in them, like how to use a check-in tool. So the AI can actually use the tool to be able to accomplish things for them. Or if people need to register for something, right? If you're running a festival, maybe people are going to register pay for the event, things like that. The AI agents needs to be able to do those things. So the main difference between generative AI and the AI agents is that generative AI just answers the questions and does what is instructed. The AI agents can actually do things on their own and make decisions and plan and perform tasks, use tools and make decisions, and then move forward, and then maybe handle things just like a human. So when I imagine the future, like 5 or 10 years from today, I think it's just going to be great to be a startup founder, because you won't need to hire people to do different things. What you're going to do is like you're going to hire these AI agents. Like you are going to hire a designer AI agents to do your maybe YouTube thumbnails, and you're going to hire another AI agent to do your customer support, and you're going to hire another AI agent, and it's going to be very cheap because it's you don't have to worry about like all those things like HR and trying to find like so many jobs. Like if you have a job for a short amount of time, you can just hire this AI agent, and the AI agent can do things for you.
And you're also going to have to, for our leaders out there, I think that this is important to get ahead of the curve. Wouldn't you say that you're also going to have to learn how to lead a hybrid organization of both people and AI agents?
So what's going to happen is that the humans, they are actually working with these AI agents. So they're all working like a manager. Instead of like doing these tasks, like manual tasks, they are basically making decisions about like what to do and like measuring, monitoring the AI agents, and sometimes like customizing them for the task. And they're basically designing and monitoring and overseeing the AI agents. And we are all going to turn into like the managers, kind of like a managers that working with AI and just accomplishing so much more. And people are worried about like losing jobs, but I think it's going to create more jobs because we are going to be able to do so much more with the help of AI. And this means that we are all going to be much more productive, and we are all going to be able to work with AI to this is going to be amazing for startups.
So what for somebody who's scared to death, because we just talked about wiping out HR, all kinds of different things. And I'm with you 1,000%. I believe it's going to create jobs just like the previous industrial revolutions did. But now is the time to start getting ahead of things. What is one piece of practical advice or one skill that you think that our listeners should start focusing on now to start learning how to adopt and leverage AI?
I would definitely recommend like using AI day to day, because that helps you understand like the capabilities of AI. And if you have many of the technologies, like they started in the consumer space, right? If you think about the internet, if you think about the personal computer, mobile phones, right? They start with the consumers, right? And then they became part of the business as well. So with the AI, something similar is happening. Like if you are using as a consumer, um, if you're asking your questions about like day-to-day decisions, like these days, I don't go to Google anymore. Like I will just go
Me
to
neither.
ChatGPT instead,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'll get much better answers. And I'm able to, like, instead of like put in 2 words, I can just ask the AI like what I need to do. And sometimes I'm also not reading books anymore. So what happened recently is like I'm just gonna like I need to learn something, right? I will just like ask it to write a book about that, like just create a deep research about that, and I read that, and I'm just if I need to learn about like how this competitor actually did something, I could just AI to research the web and find out everything they can about that, and then write a book about like their strategy. And just I'm just reading those kind of books these days. I'm
Those
actually
are
reading custom written books these days. Yeah.
those are great use cases. I mean, I do want to point out for our listeners too, always be careful about verifying, before you put something out there. I've even seen people put stats out there. We did it one time by mistake, and somebody called us on the stat. It wasn't correct. So you have to be careful with that. But I'm right on the same page with you. And one of the things that I've been using AI for is to really challenge my assumptions on everything. I'll ask you questions, and I'll have it give me pushback, or even give me feedback on how I do on these transcripts afterwards. Like, what could I learn and what could I do better? These are all ways to leverage AI. Going back to your AI agents, somebody might say, "Oh, that sounds fantastic, Aytekin, but that sounds like really hard to do." Now, I know that you have like an AI agent builder, but didn't you also say that sometimes the easiest things when it comes to working with Jotform is to just go to a prompt and tell us like, what do you want to do with it, and you guys will do it for them?
Oh yeah, I mean, with our AI agents, basically, the way you create an AI agent is just we have a builder, but you still start with a prompt, and whatever you need to do, you prompt that, and then we create the AI agent for you, and then we still have a builder. And I think one of the reasons we still need software is because like many people actually don't know what kind of things they can do. Like builder interfaces kind of allows you to see what can you do, like what can you customize, and what kind of tools you can use. Like you could integrate it with Google Calendar, and then let your AI agent actually take appointments, like schedule appointments for you, for example. Or you can integrate it with other products, like
Or
send
answer your
data to somewhere.
or like you told me that it doesn't answer your Gmail now for you as well.
Oh yeah. So with the Jotform AI, just we have all these different channels, right? You can put a chatbot on your website. You can have your AI agent answer phone calls for you. You can have like WhatsApp or texting, like all kinds of channels. And one of the channels we just released it yesterday, is the Gmail agent. But basically, the Gmail agent. Uh, you give access to your Gmail, and then it will actually go and read your previous. I think it's reading like 100 previous recent answers. It starts with that, and then learns from that, and then whenever a new question arrives, and it also knows like what's spam, what's newsletter. Like it doesn't try to answer those things. Whenever someone, like for example, your customer asks a question, it will actually create a draft for you, and it will just put that draft there for you to process. And then you go there, and then you just, if it's correct, and you can also further train that agent. Like one of the ways we found that people really enjoy training their agents is just talking to their agents. So you can actually go and have a chat session with your agent, or just speak to your agent. And what's happening is that basically it's going to start asking you questions like, hey, this person actually previously, I was on your website, someone actually asked that question. I wasn't sure about that answer. Like, did I answer correctly? Things like that. And you're basically having this conversation with your own AI agent. You're training your own AI agent. And the same thing could also apply with Gmail, even though it can learn from your previous answers. You can also talk to it, or you can just provide like documents. You can provide your website. It can learn from your website and use that knowledge to prepare drafts and answers. Or you could even provide feedback to the answer it provides and to improve it. And so this is like we also recently released this presentation agent, which can actually, like, if you have like this presentation about the topic, you can give it to our Jotform AI agents, and then it will actually create it will create a speaking voice over for that presentation. And the great thing about that is, like, it's not just speaking. It's also, if the person, just ask a question, it can stop presenting the presentation, and it can actually answer those questions as well, or ask questions to the viewer and the person who is watching the presentation. So that's the presentation. So, basically, we are working on all these different types of AI agents to be able to kind of allow people to use their AI agents, the knowledge base they are building on different channels as well, not just in a single place, but different places as well. And
but we wanted people to know, we're talking about that don't be intimidated by it. It may sound like a lot, but just get in and start using it. And I like when you say, when you're talking to it, I've always heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it is actually better to talk to it than to type it, to get it to learn your language and everything. Now, with all these different channels, didn't you say that right now at the age where most people are using it is the on your website, right? Going to your website?
Yeah, that's like, when we look at the growth, like we had like over 10 channels. When I look at the growth, and we have like hundreds of dashboards at Jotform, like I spend a lot of time, like most of my time, actually looking at data. I enjoy looking at data. I enjoy asking questions like, why is this happening? Why this chart is like straight, and why this chart is going down or going up? And the biggest growth we see is with the website chatbots. And I think the main reason is that it's actually very useful. Like, because if you have this static website and people hate reading, and like even if you put something like right in the middle of the top of your page and middle of your homepage, they will still go to that chatbot and they will ask the same question, like, when do you open, or something like that. When does your business open? And so that's where we see the biggest growth right now. People put Jotform AI agents on their websites, and because of that, because we have this really product with a lot of features, that we decided, okay, people who wants to just put a chatbot on their website, let's just make a simple product. That's why we also just released Noop.com. And that's basically, you go and you just give your website URL, and then you just get an embed code. That's it. That's the whole product. There's
All
nothing
right,
else.
I want our listeners and my team to hear this, because tomorrow I'm going to have noop.com on the Learn It website, and I'll put a link in there to this, because again, it's because you're right, people don't want to read all this. And my understanding with Noop, I was studying beforehand through my deep research, by the way, is that it just kind of scans your website and it'll pull out that specific answer that you're looking for.
Yeah, definitely. It's just, and also like you don't have to spend like the same thing with the Gmail agent. In the beginning, we were like, we didn't have that feature to like go read like last 100 answers. We like in the beta process, we were asking people to enter like all these like information about their, and people like didn't take the time to enter them. Or we decided, okay, why don't we just, we have access, right? We are going to create drafts. We have access to their inbox. Why don't we just read their previous answers and then just, learn from that, create the knowledge base. You can actually see those learning in the knowledge base as well, and learn from those answers, and then just people don't have to work. They just, AI can handle that work as well, creating the knowledge base. And the same way, like if you have a website, you already have all that information. Why you need to enter the information? We just go and crawl your website, learn from it. The AI just learn from it, and then it can answer all the questions because it knows everything on your website.
Well, we got to kind of wrap up here. I mean, I have so many questions for you, and we go on and on. But as we kind of wrap up, I do have one question. I mean, you've been at this for a couple of decades, and I think you own 100% of Jotform, right?
Yeah.
And I've been at this for 30 years, and I still really love what I do too. But what keeps this passion going for you? I could just tell how excited you are about still doing what you're doing.
I think it's about like really seeing people use the product. That really excites me. And whenever I actually meet people who use Jotform in the wild, or I just encounter a Jotform while doing something, it just makes me so happy. And I think that's really, I'm really excited about like building new stuff, new products, new features, and seeing people use those products. It's more than the money. It's more about like providing that value to the world and to people, and seeing them use the product. It just makes me so much more happier. That's why like we still have the free version. It's fully functional. It's just like, if you don't have a huge usage, it's all free. And we do that on all of our products, and have the free version. I think that's because my need to have allow people to use our products, probably because of that. And that's what excites me today, just product. Yeah.
I love that. So a question for you, where let's say you're a bootstrap founder like myself, right? And earlier you were saying that there's two really things you look at, growth and bottlenecks. One of the things I didn't hear you say was anything about your competition. Mm-hmm. So if you're a bootstrap founder, maybe like me, and your competitor just went out and raised $60 million, what's your mindset around that? How do you because I mean, look, I've experienced that, and some my 50 employees were like, "Hey, did you see so and so just did this?" What's your recommendation around that?
I'm very happy if one of our competitors goes and receives huge sums of money. That actually means that like they just have to. And what happens over time is like most of our competitors who received investments, they actually sold their businesses in the end, because when you're either selling the company, or like the new owners are the investors, and they have different goals than the founder, and that goals are usually short term as opposed to like very long term. And I see my I look at my business more in terms of long term, and like I've seen like so many great like that. I had like competitors who were much better than Jotform, and they were much more skilled, and they had much bigger experience. And then they received funding and then they sold the company. And the original founder, those great people, actually left the companies. And most of our actually competitors had that during these 19 years. And so, in terms of competition, I'm perfect okay with them receiving funding. But in terms of the really, when I look at for the consumer, the users, for the benefit of the users, the companies that receive funding and then they exit and then they just turn into a cash cow or something like that. It's very sad to see the products close down, or just people stop investing in them. The new investors stop improving them. It's actually very bad for the people who use them. But in terms of competition, I'm perfectly okay with that. Yeah.
I love that you just said that you love seeing that your competitors raise a bunch of money, because that's going to give you. I just had a conversation with a friend that I kind of mentor, and he's helping a CEO who raised a bunch of money, and now she is really struggling because she doesn't have the control anymore. She's answering to somebody else, and it's a big challenge. I do have one final question before we wrap up. Have there been any decisions that you feel like you've been able to make as a Bootstrap founder? This is a question from a guy on my team, Nick Cruitt. So I'll give him a little shout out. So Nick's question was, have there been any decisions you've been able to make as a Bootstrap founder that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to do if you had to report back to a bunch of investors?
I think that's every day we make that decision to keep our products free. Is that decision we couldn't make if we had investors, because what we have seen is that every time our competitors received funding, they would actually really kill their free products, kill the features, and just try to push as many people as possible to their paid versions, gain more revenue from it, turn it into a trial as opposed to freemium sometimes, or just kill the free version completely and just go upstream, upstream more enterprise only products, turn them into. And what's happening with that is that I think the quality of product kind of depends on the quantity of users as well, like the customers as well. The more users you have, the more you learn from it, especially if you're listening to those users. And that's why I really value having all those, millions of free users who are actually providing all these feedback, useful feedback, and using all kinds of features. That means if an enterprise company who is paying us high bucks is using the product, they're actually experiencing an amazing product that's been tested by millions of users, and all these, all kind of features they wouldn't have, and they're all working because we have a big user base. So I think having been a bootstrapper allowed us to kind of keep that vision, having that more users, and worrying less about money and optimizing for sales and money, and optimize more for market share or number of users, and that kind of gave us the freedom to be able to choose our own path as opposed to just focus on money.
Yeah, choice of choose the freedom to choose your own path. All right, to recap, kind of like what we talked about. We talked about how you got started, and you basically saw a gap there, and of what your people that you were working with were asking you to do all the time. And you're like, hey, I got this idea. I'm going to start my own thing. Almost went the route of starting your own Facebook, but I think you did just fine with Jotform. I really like the conversation around learning and getting the product out there and seeing what people actually use or want. I loved how you talked about creating your own constraints and realizing that when you had 15 or 20 people, it wasn't the same as you had these little 5 people groups. And when you empowered people and gave them that ownership mindset, is really what I heard you say, is that's where Jotform really took off. And then when it comes to AI agents, what the world's going to be like in 5 years from now, and what we should start doing now to being involved in it. So many great things. What is one piece of advice or thing you want to leave us with, either around being a Bootstrap founder or where the world's going with AI?
I think taking the long path and just enjoy the journey. Just take the long path, enjoy the journey. First 5 years, like we were like one employee, second employee, third employee, fifth employee. Like just we were growing so slowly. I enjoyed all those years as well, and I enjoy having a large team that can accomplish a lot today. But at that time, it was also very exciting. So I think if you look at this as a journey and enjoy every moment of it, I think don't be stressed about like what's going to happen in the future and all those things. Just try to enjoy the moment. Yeah,
I love it. And where can our listeners connect with you?
So my website is my first name, last name.com, aytekintank.com. You can go, I have a book. You can read the first chapter. All my articles and interviews are available there as well. So yeah.
And you're gonna you got a new book coming out too one of these days, right? Or you're working on it?
I'm working on the next one. Yeah.
Yeah. No, this has been awesome. For listeners, I have two challenges for you. Number one, if you're somebody who has an idea and your excuse is, well, I don't have funding or I don't know where to get funding, Aytek's saying, just go for it and make it happen, right? And just figure it out. Otherwise, you're going to pass up an opportunity. You're going to regret it. And number two, which is very critical, we're all going to need to know how to use AI and leverage it to its fullest. So get going on it now if you're not already, or if you know somebody who's not using it and should, take this interview and send it to them. They'll get a lot of value out of it. And so this has been fantastic. And until next time, everybody, stay curious, keep learning. Have a great day. Aytek, you're awesome. Thank you.
High performers are competitive, they're driven. And then here's what I would just say, and this goes back to a little bit, ties into your coaching question, but I think there's like a level above high performer. And if you're going back to, this is a way I think as a CEO or